Good afternoon, everyone. We're in Mountain View, California, and welcome back to our coverage of European Innovation Day. Now, my next guest is European by heart, Santiago Iñiguez, President of Antai Business School. Santiago, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Cornelius. It's a great pleasure to be here with you.
Great. Now, Santiago, you've just told me before we were on set that you're interviewing Richard Branson next week.
I am actually. He's coming to Madrid, and I was told not to wear a tie because otherwise he would cut it.
I'm in trouble.
Of course, I will take that piece of advice very seriously, but I want to raise a number of questions to him. He has been on the spot as an entrepreneur for over 30 years, so he provides a very good example.
Well, look, I hope I'm a good interviewer today. We'll see what happens. So, Santiago, we're here in Mountain View, very close to Silicon Valley. We're surrounded by some top European scale-ups, some top European policymakers, and some American entrepreneurs. But before we get to that, could you tell everyone at home who you are, what you spent your career doing, and what your kind of hopes and aspirations are for the future entrepreneurship and education?
Sure. I'm president of Renmin University, and I'm the former dean of Antai Business School, which is consistently ranked among the top 3 business schools in Europe. We are also ranked as the leading business school worldwide in blended programs, combining high-quality online modules with face-to-face forms of education. We're also ranked as #1 in entrepreneurship by the Financial Times.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And top MBA. So I guess that's the main reason why I'm taking part of this conference, because our school is a reference for entrepreneurship. It was actually created by a group of entrepreneurs almost 40 years ago, and entrepreneurship is actually part of our DNA.
Right. And what was the mission behind the creation of the school?
Well, it was actually transforming our environment and developing transformers, entrepreneurs who would actually become the architects of the global society.
Right.
Our school and the university was created as international from the very start. We currently have 150 different nationalities on campus.
Yeah.
And of course this diversity makes a very distinctive learning environment. It's part of the learning process.
And building a higher education institution is probably a little bit different in Europe than it is the US. However, I think having studied here, I can see the same ambition towards entrepreneurship. What would you say to those European entrepreneurs who may be thinking about a company but want to further their education? Where should they go?
Well, interestingly, our institution attracts people from many different quarters, and the first constituency is actually the US.
Right. Okay.
So we bring participants from the Americas, from Asia, Africa, elsewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
I guess probably my answer to your question would be that we provide a very diverse environment,
Right.
where entrepreneurs can actually learn a lot of how to develop their services, their new inventions to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So this is something very, very distinctive, if you compare a school with any other institution worldwide.
Right.
Of course, Europe is a crucible of cultures.
Yeah,
they can also learn a different language. They can travel around. And we provide also a very strong basis of digital skills. And given that most of the startups created today have to do with technology, I guess that's very helpful as well.
Right. And when you think about the kind of evolution of the European ecosystem, I don't think anyone doubts that Europe's got a great startup ecosystem. But a lot of the critiques that I've seen have been around scale-ups. What is your approach to that at the university?
Well, we favor both startups as well as scale-ups. We run 28 different events worldwide at different capitals. For example, next week, or in a couple of weeks actually, we are running a fintech competition in New York City.
Amazing.
But we do something similar across the globe. For example, in Berlin, we run every year a tech event, a venture day focused on the music industry. We do something similar focused on social entrepreneurship in Ghana every year. So I guess we attract all sorts of entrepreneurs, people who look forward to creating their own companies, but people who are also looking for investors in in order to take the second big jump. Also, people who belong to family businesses who want to transform their own companies, and of course, transformers who want to reinvent the big corporations they work for. Entrepreneurship should be actually a common denominator across any human professional activity. We also find entrepreneurs in the public administration, of course, in many other social initiatives.
And we have a lot of young entrepreneurs watching here today. We have many scale-ups of guys who are trying to scale their businesses to the United States. But a lot of them are starting in Europe. What would your message be to the next generation of talent? Young kids who are thinking about starting a business, maybe they don't know where to start, but they want to stay in Europe. Do you have any nuggets of advice that you would share with them?
Well, come to IE. Some advice. Was it
www.ie.com?
In fact, I guess it's very important to provide and to find the place where you can actually meet investors, mentors, talent. Entrepreneurship requires a sort of ecosystem. You were mentioning this. Silicon Valley, of course, is the leading ecosystem worldwide. But entrepreneurs can also find some other hubs worldwide, including cities in Europe, like of course London, Paris, Berlin, but also Madrid. Madrid is becoming very quickly a hub for entrepreneurs in many different industries, and of course we will give access to all those entrepreneurs to many other parts of the world, and to investors, mentors, supporters. So I guess my advice, would be that they contact us.
And my final question, so you've talked a lot about the IE ecosystem and how you want to build that. Where do you see IE going in the next 25 years?
Well, we are now expanding our activity into new fields. We were an independent business school. Then we created a university 9 years ago. We now have schools in architecture and design, in law.
All with an entrepreneurial focus?
All of them. I mean, we look forward to developing architects and designers who are entrepreneurial and who also have management skills. Normally you find starry architects who don't fulfill their projects in time or budget. So we want to instill those very basic skills in all professionals. We also have a recently created school in human science and technology that is running programs in big data analysis and cybersecurity and many other fields. So we plan to expand into different fields, and of course in all those areas we will also excel and become one of the leading institutions in Europe.
This was a nice final question, but when we think about the future of work economy, the rate of technical change is almost so quick. People are always having to be retrained. Sounds like you guys have got a phenomenal entrepreneurial culture, but from what you've said, it sounds like it's really a learning culture, right? Encouraging people to constantly be learning. How do you disseminate that message in the classroom and in your ecosystem?
Well, I guess first, what you say is very important. Learning has to be a sort of reference for your entire career, for your entire life. So my piece of advice for all professionals is that they come back to school at least every 3 or 5 years. All professions change very quickly. The industries change. So we need to update our skills. We need to update our knowledge. So my advice would be, and it is actually to all my students, that they realize they need to be students for their whole lives. Probably professionals in our generation will take 3-4 masters during their careers. We have to take into account that life expectancy also has increased, so retirement may not be an option anymore. And we will change professions, and consequently we need to study and learn new professions, new skills.
Amazing. Well guys, incredibly insightful conversation. Santiago, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Cornelius.
Anytime. See you soon, guys.